Mr. President, good to see you. Welcome. How are you? Good evening. And you?
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry's second tour of Kenya in a year formally kicked off at State House, Nairobi, where he led his delegation for bilateral talks with his host, President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yeah, I like to think of this.
With 350 days to the country's second general election under the 2010 constitutional order, the U.S. government has called for political consensus on sticking electoral issues to avert a repeat of the 2007-2008 skirmishes triggered by a contested presidential election.
That Kenya must have a trusted electoral body that is capable of running that kind of transparent and credible election. You've already taken steps to do that.
And not just the government, but we truly believe that there's no Kenyan that would want to go back to that really traumatic period of 2007-2008. And that commitment has been, I think, made by all of us.
Kerry's tour coinciding with the parliamentary-led initiative in reforming the country's electoral system and recruitment of new IEBC commissioners to take over from Ahmed Isaac Hassan and his team, whose stay in office became untenable following accusations of bias and partiality. The American government offering to pump more resources into the Kenyan electoral kitty to facilitate the conduct of credible polls in under a year.
We are investing over $25 million in this year in order to support your electoral process coming into next year. What does that mean? It means we want to strengthen your election operations. We want to have you have the ability to carry out election observation during the elections.
In the run-up to the 2013 polls, USA was deemed to oppose the candidature of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto on a Jubilee ticket due to the crimes against humanity charges they were facing at the Hague-based International Criminal Court. The scenario has since changed after the charges were dropped, with US President Barack Obama visiting his father's land in July last year.
The United States does not favor one party over another, but we strongly support a fair, accountable, transparent, orderly, credible, non-violent electoral process.
On the regional front, the U.S. government is calling for stern measures against the warring factions in South Sudan and offered more than 13.5 billion shillings in food, water and medical aid to thousands of citizens internally displaced following months of vicious fighting between forces allied to President Salva Kiir and former Vice President Dr. Riek Machar. The Obama administration has also backed the deployment of 4,000 soldiers as a protection force to ease the suffering of civilians caught in the South Sudanese military combat.
The leaders of South Sudan have to live up to their responsibilities. They have to put the interests of their citizens first, and they have to refrain from violent and provocative acts.
Kerry also announced the 2.9 billion shillings boost to Kenya through the United Nations High Commission for Refugees UNHCR to facilitate repatriation of more than 300,000 refugees from the Dadaab refugee camp to Somalia, even as he called for closer collaboration between regional states to combat the threat of terrorism and radicalization. Francis Gashuri, Monday Special.